Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Oh, okay. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Okay. Is the whole game voice acted?
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay. So he's a morphine addict.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Huh. Okay.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the HUN had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
The ocean forces of the HUN. So wait, was he taken aboard the German vessel?
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Okay. Alright. What is this? Oh. Oh my god. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27 July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated, no quarter will be given, prisoners will not be taken, whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the first Hague Convention of 1899. Hague?
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Oh shit. Alright, he got away. Right here, with my provisions. Thank you. This game is very difficult.
When I finally found myself adrift and free,
I
had but little idea of my surroundings.
Whoa. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks kind of nice, actually.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Makes sense. Setting west.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Oh my god. Wait, is anything else around me here? No.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Okay. So he's just drifting right now. And he has no water left, I think.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Oh yeah. It's getting very hot.
The change happened whilst I slept.
Wait, what change?
Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Oh, God! What the fuck is this? Death Stranding?
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
Monotonous undulations.
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
What is that in the Oh, that is the boat.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I mean, this definitely seems kind of horrifying.
For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
So he's like hallucinating right now.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
It definitely seems that way. The boat. He's walking to the boat.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
What?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Okay. Oh, I can see that.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things. For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Wait, you're gonna walk on this? Good luck, man.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Yo, I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this, man.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
All right, bro, I guess let's go. All we can do is go.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Into the distance.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
A hummock? The fuck is that? Looks like a huge seashell. Alright. Oh, is that a fucking beached whale? Oh dear.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still traveled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
A hummock just looks like... Is that like a fucking hill in the distance? I think
By
this...
the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface.
Oh god. I swear there's something over there shining on the left.
Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
Yeah, this is basically like a visual novel.
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
The crest of the eminence. Oh god. Oh, shit, the provisions.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
Uh-oh.
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness.
You're going down there, aren't you?
As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
All right, let's keep going down.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
Yeah, there's a vault at the
Stygian
end.
Deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
What the hell is that?
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
What is this?
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
It does look like a big stone.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
So you're gonna get closer then?
For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith,
Oh.
whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Uh-oh.
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain
How did he
thrill
get
of the
to shore?
scientists' or archaeologists' delight,
We're in a
I
house.
examined my surroundings more closely.
Oh, now he's curious. Now he's looking around.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Oh, I see it.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Whoa. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later work, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and character notes, the Shadow Out of Time, island emerging from the ocean, or fictional beings and deities based on real events. Also consider the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also include in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's get the... oh.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
I feel like a lot of stuff is inspired by like H.P. Lovecraft stuff.
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance
Like
makes
so
me
much
grow
shit.
faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
Yeah, but no one can make like a decent game. Bloodborne was slightly inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. Thing is, I've never like looked at H.P. Lovecraft stuff, but it's like always mentioned here and there as like a theme, like a thematic element of sorts. Bitch, I don't fucking know. You motherfuckers apparently fucking masturbate all over H.P. Lovecraft shit. I don't know. I don't know how like insane this guy was, his work. I only ever hear his fucking name.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist. I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Uh-oh.
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Oh, God.
Loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic stony arms, while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Okay.
I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
You fucking booked it.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
Definitely a storm.
At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
You got to his boat pretty fast.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital,
Wait, what?
brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
So it was in his mind?
In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Is this dialogue right from like one of his short stories? I don't know. Anyone here like a H.P. Lovecraft fan? Like heavy
Once
fan?
I sought out a celebrated ethnologist.
Was it a bunch of short stories he did, or like even big like novels or some shit? I don't know.
And amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Dagon. Dagon is one of his first short stories. Oh. Was the main deity of the Philistines worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. The rulers of Akkad chose him as the patron saint of their war conquest. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylon texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name. As in Hebrew, the word Dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Oh, God. So he's back, and he's in his office and trying to figure this shit out.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Augustus Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. Augustus Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works throughout his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of the most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu Mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's work are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu Mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Okay. It's always the guy they partner with that fucks shit up too. But I guess without him, his work wouldn't be as popular as it is now.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
Yeah, no shit, most of Twitch chat
tried
won't like a game
morphine.
like this. I'm just trying to give it a chance. I mean, it's all I mean, it's an interesting take. I mean, not all games need to follow specific formulas.
But the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now, I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
So he basically got addicted to morphine trying to quell whatever the fuck he had experienced. He went mad from that. Okay. Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco even though he used to smoke when he was 12. What? In order to look and feel like an adult? In his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. How has there not been like a... Is there like a documentary on H.P. Lovecraft or some shit? I feel like this motherfucker's name is like mentioned so many times. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zila Brown. As for the matter of drinking, I've never tasted intoxicating liquor and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust as anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as any other. All right, so he did not like alcohol.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war.
Wait, what the fuck?
This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Damn, what the fuck? So we're gonna get attacked by a bunch of fucking sea creatures?
The end is near.
Uh-oh.
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Oh god. It must be the cleaning lady.
It shall not find me.
Oh, it found you.
God, that hand!
No! No!
The window! The window!
The window! The window! Oh. So he just went mad from that, is what happened. He went mad trying to figure out what the fuck he saw. And then he like started hallucinating on what was coming at him or some shit. I don't know. That was kind of cool, brah. Amnesia is heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft. I guess so. True, true. I'm assuming he just went mad. Is what happened after all that. Kind of what it seemed like. Hey, I mean, that was cool. I mean, yeah, it's not a game not everyone's gonna like and shit. I mean, that was kind of, you know,